Chargers. Touchdown, UCLA.
With USC great and NFL stud, Frosty Rucker.
The Trojans back in front.
And LAFB founder Ryan Dyrud on the Believe Podcast Network and LAFBnetwork.com. This is your destination for Los Angeles football.
What's going on, Los Angeles football fans? Welcome into the LA Football Show. I'm your host, Ryan Dyrud. Thank you for tuning in. We are on the LA Football Network, LAFBnetwork.com, LAFB Network YouTube, everywhere you get your podcasts. Just search LA Football Show and you will find us. And we are live on the mightier 1090 ESPN radio, one of the most powerful airwaves in the land. So blessed to be on the great 1090, and hope you're tuning in, and thanks for making us part of your day. But beautiful day in SoCal, wherever you are. If you're in LA, Orange County, Santa Barbara, San Diego, if you're not in, Los Angeles or the SoCal area and you're listening across the country, we got Rams, Chargers, Trojans, Bruins fans all over the world. And I am just honored that you want to tune in for an hour 3 times a week and listen to me ramble about these 4 teams. So thank you for that. Happy Easter weekend. It's a great weekend to celebrate, Christ rising from the dead, and we get to celebrate, his, the Savior that he is, and saving us, from our sins and all that. So celebrate that with friends, family, loved ones, and rejoice. It's a great time to be alive. A lot of bad things in the world, a lot of bad things going on, in the news, in schools, in public places, in politics, a lot. But I think there's so much we have to sit back and just, take some breaths off Twitter, put the phone down, step out in the real world and see that there is a lot of good still, a lot of things to celebrate, a lot of things worth, sacrificing for and for the better good. And so, I'm not going to sit here and be on my pedestal. I'll use this as my 60-second soapbox, I guess, since I'm going to start doing that now every show. So this will be it. But, just give thanks, be grateful. I think we have a lot to be thankful for. And one of those great things, let's get to football right away, is the draft coming up. Thankful for that. The draft is one of my favorite times of the year. Vegas this year, we will be in Vegas. LA Football Network having a draft house out in Vegas covering the event. So we got you covered, all you Rams and Chargers fans, or if you're Trojans and Bruins fans that want to see these guys get drafted, we've got you covered. It's gonna be a blast out there, and we'll have plenty of interviews. We'll be on the red carpet for the Thursday day 1 event, so that should be a lot of fun. Hopefully get some sweet interviews there with some prospects that are going to be in the NFL and hopefully shining in the LA Tinseltown, becoming stars out here if they aren't already. So make sure to stay tuned for that. Our draft coverage all year long, I think, has been pretty solid. Doing the best we can. We haven't done as much writing as we would like. It's just been crazy busy, and especially with the Rams going to the Super Bowl, that was the focus. And then free agency was nuts. But we've had some really good draft stuff podcast-wise. Our Chargers Unleashed podcast, Dan and Jake do a phenomenal job doing their prospect review, and, they just go deep into it. So for Chargers fans out there, if you haven't yet, you got to check out Chargers Unleashed. I believe they're recording again today also with another new prospect list. So check that out for specifically Chargers related. We got Will and Jamal who do the new Draft is in Session podcast. We just launched it in January, and it's dedicated strictly to the draft. And they do a great job. Just the knowledge those two dudes have is, it's unparalleled. They just know their stuff. So if you love the draft, make sure to check out Draft is in Session. Bruin Bible, also our UCLA that Will does. Jamal's on there all the time with them. But they've been doing great getting our UCLA guys. I mean, they just had Sean Ryan on, potential first-round pick. They just had Quentin Lake on. We're still working on potentially, getting, Greg Dulcich and Kyle Phillips on the show. So they're doing a killer job. So you got to check out the Bruin Bible. Even if you're not a Bruins fan, I think they just do a really, really good job and a lot of insight there. And, Trojans fans, we got Salute to Troy, which is our Trojans podcast. And obviously our Rams specific is the Rams brothers, who do a fantastic job also. So you got to make sure to check them out. And I try to just keep it all together. Keep it all just LA centric, LA football centric, and do the best I can. So today I'm going to do my first mock draft of the season. We're going to do it live together. I didn't prep anything. We're going to literally I'm going to pull up a screen grab here. We're going to use Pro Football Focus, and we're going to go through a 7-round mock together. I'm going to try to not make it boring for you guys. We're going to do, obviously, Chargers and Rams. So I'm going to do both teams. So both you fans, stick around, listen to the whole show. Full disclosure, obviously, I cover the draft. I know the draft. I know these prospects, but I'm not an expert by any means. Will and Jamal know a whole lot more than me. Dan and Jake know a whole lot more than me. Ryan Anderson, our Rams beat writer, who's done a bunch of draft stuff, knows a whole lot more than me. Stephen Haglin, who's our lead Chargers writer and probably lead draft writer in general. Obviously, he does Guilty as Charged podcast too, but for us specifically, does the writing side. Way more draft knowledge than me. I mean, Steven is amazing what he does. Make sure to check out his Chargers articles that are draft specific as well. But I know my stuff. So I give you that disclosure as we go through this mock. I'm going to try to provide as much value as I can, but I don't know 400 prospects this year that I can just rattle a bunch of stuff off like some of these guys. So we're going to have fun with it. It's going to be a great time. So before we get into it, sponsor of the show, you got to check it out. It's our partners, Bet Online. They continue to be the #1 source for all your betting needs and sports info. You can find all the latest sports developments, including updated odds on the NBA playoffs, which are kicking off. They're kicking off soon, right? The playing games just happened. So check that out. All the fights coming up. We got a Canelo fight again coming up. Hockey playoffs are coming up. And obviously next season futures. MLB is actually going. I mean, they're playing baseball right now, I think, right? BetOnline is your continued source for all your sports wagering needs, including live betting and your favorite Vegas, casino, and poker games. Excuse me. It's super easy to get started, so head to the website today. It's betonline.ag. Use your mobile device or desktop. Join using the promo code BELIEVE, that's BLEAV, to receive your 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit. BetOnline, where the game starts. All right. So I think let's just get into it, right? We'll see how this goes. So let me pull. I'm showing you, we're starting from the start. I didn't do anything beforehand. I didn't prep or pull or, make things up like we're using a draft simulator. We're going through it. So here we go. Sharing the screen here. We got the Chargers and the Rams selected. 7 rounds. Let's get into it. So we'll see what happens. We're doing this in real time. Obviously, the other picks are going to go really fast. We're not going to waste time seeing what other teams do. This year's funny before I get to, who we're going to take here for the Chargers. But most years, it's pretty, not obviously every single year, but I would say 90% of years, like it's pretty well known who's going to be the #1 overall pick. And usually that's a quarterback. I would say 9 times out of 10, the #1 overall pick is a quarterback. This year, not only is it really up and down who could be the #1 overall pick, but it's it's most certainly not going to be a quarterback, since the Jaguars took Trevor Lawrence last year first overall, and they now have the #1 overall pick again. So it's like, do they go offensive line? Do they go, Aiden Hutchinson or one of those other edge guys? It's going to be interesting to see. So I think there's a lot of intrigue this year because there's a lot more unknown. This is going to be one of those years where there's going to be a lot of chaos leading up to this Chargers 17th pick. And I know everyone's kind of talking trades and whatnot. Like, can they trade up? Can they trade back? We saw that odd trade with Philly and the Saints, and now the Chargers are sandwiched right in between. And you can see in this simulation already, Trevor Penning went right before the Chargers and picked 16 to the Saints, which I know is a guy that some Chargers fans have pegged as a tackle there. Devin Lloyd goes at 15 to the Eagles, who I've seen him go anywhere from top 10 to in the 20s. Jameson Williams, who a lot of Chargers fans want, at 14. Trent McDuffie at 13. This is so far Garrett Wilson at 11. Drake London at 10. I'm assuming he was the first receiver taken. And yes, he was. So this one had Thibodeau going first overall. Sauce Gardner at 4. Stingley 5. I'll just read through this for those listening on podcast platforms. So, and then we're not going to do this every round, but for the first round, it's interesting. So Thibodeau first, Hutchinson second, Ikwuno third, Sauce Gardner 4, Derek Stingley Jr. 5th, Evan Neal, so the second tackle now off the board at 6. Kyle Hamilton, safety out of Notre Dame at 7. Trayvon Walker, edge out of Georgia at 8. We got Charles Cross, third tackle taken at 9. Drake London, Garrett Wilson, George Karlaftis, another edge at 12. Trent McDuffie, another corner at 13. And then, like I said, Jameson Williams, 14. Devin Lloyd, 15. Trevor Penning, 16. So the Chargers at 17 And I think this is what's going to happen. I don't think they're going to try. I think they're just going to see how it plays out because there's going to be chaos. I mean, in this simulation, not a single quarterback has gone yet, which is not going to happen. Absolutely not. There's going to be a quarterback in the top 17. I would venture to guess there'll probably end up being 2 or 3 quarterbacks, whether someone trades up to get one, say a Pittsburgh or some other team trades up, or if just teams like the Texans, I don't think the Texans, but potentially the Falcons who are running with Marcus Mariota, maybe they take someone to develop. Obviously, Washington, potentially. I know they just signed Carson Wentz, but there's potential there. The Eagles, maybe. The Saints, probably more than likely. There's going to be a quarterback gone. So it's pretty shocking. I haven't really done any mock drafts yet. I'm going to be doing a bunch now in the next 2 weeks. I'm pretty surprised it did not have gone this time. So that's worst case scenario for the Chargers. Worst case is no quarterbacks go because then everyone they're eyeing on, it seems like most people I hear talking, you're going to have either a Trevor Penning, a Trent McDuffie, a Devin Lloyd, which no one's really talking about Devin Lloyd of the Chargers, but I'm going to just put it out there. It would not shock me with what that linebacker room looks like if Devin Lloyd falls. I know Staley doesn't necessarily value linebackers, at least for price. But a guy like Devin Lloyd, I mean, he's never had a middle linebacker like Devin Lloyd, I don't think, in his, I know he's been linebacker coach with some great linebackers, but most of those were on the edge. Trying to remember if he was still in Chicago when they drafted, why am I drawing a blank in his name? Really good inside linebacker. It'll come to me, I'm sure, later in the show. Obviously not Leonard Floyd, he plays edge, but an actual inside guy that I'm blanking on the name right now. But I'm trying to remember if Staley was still there, if he was there for his rookie year. I think he was. So, I mean, we saw them draft, and that was a Fangio defense, a Staley linebacker room. And if he was there, they took I think 9th overall that year. So we'll see. I don't think that's getting enough talk. I think Devin Lloyd, if he's there, they'll seriously suggest it. But anyway, here we are. Here we sit at 17. Worst case scenario, no quarterbacks gone. You can see from my screen if you're watching on YouTube or if you're watching on just the LAFB Network website where we have our videos all there. You got Bernard Raymond. I know I'm saying that wrong. Devontae Wyatt. We got Nakobe Dean. I don't think he would be. I think it's Lloyd or no linebacker. I don't think they're taking another linebacker. Tyler Linderbaum, if you think you can move him to guard, that's not a terrible pick by any means. Obviously, you have your center at Corey Linsley, but if you want to move him to guard, Jordan Davis now, I mean, I would think if he falls here, this has to be the pick. I mean, I know Chris Olave, there's a lot of love there. Jermaine Johnson, I think there's some love there as well, obviously. But if Jordan Davis falls, I think you don't even think twice about it. And I know there's a few people that are worried because he only plays 30 to 40% of the snaps. And I know he wasn't as dominant in his previous years as he was this last year, but neither was Joe Burrow. Neither was some of these other phenomenal prospects that gave us 1 year of really, really good tape. So I'm not worried about his previous year's production. Last year's production on the time he was on the field was so dominant. So, I mean, I don't think this scenario happens where he falls, but if he does, I think that's the pick. You don't even think twice about it. I know they shored up the interior in free agency, and they did a great job doing it. But man, now you just made a very big weakness, maybe your strongest point of your defense, which is saying something considering how good the defense got already, by adding Khalil Mack, by adding JC Jackson, by adding Sebastian Joseph Day and Anson Johnson. So, I mean, if Jordan Davis falls there, that'd be great. You don't trade up for him, but if he falls, you're ecstatic. All right. So I'm going to just write these down because PFF doesn't really give me an option to look back, at least that I know of. So let's go. We got the Chargers, 17, Jordan Davis. What do you think? Yeah. Talk to me, guys. Comment below. Hit me up on Twitter, Ryan Dyrud, LAFB. What do you think? If Jordan Davis falls to 17, it's a slam dunk, right? I mean, would anyone oppose? Let's hear it. All right, so now we got pick 79 for the Chargers. Remember, no second round pick because they traded that for Khalil Mack. And This is a draft. This is a scenario now where you could potentially get a tackle, which Kellen Dyche I really like. And, I know when you get these mid-round guys, you're thinking project. I think Kellen Dyche could compete to play this year. And if he's still available in the third round, which he is in this scenario, I think that's your pick. Now, there's some great receivers. Justin Ross. Let's see. I'm sure we got some other really good receivers. We want that burner. Calvin Austin. That's going to be really tempted sitting in the third round. Calvin Austin would be probably my next pick. Or you also could potentially have one of these corners as well. Marcus Jones. I think the LSU kid is probably still Sean Ryan. Ooh. Actually, I may just Greg Dulcich, tight end. I mean, there's some good value here right now in the third round. Good value. Cordell Flott, I like him a lot. Corner, played alongside Derek Stingley, who, gets all the love. But, oh, man. I think seeing these two tackles here, I think this is the play. Either Kellen Dyche or Sean Ryan. Like I said, Sean Ryan was on our Bruin Bible show yesterday. Awesome kid, smart dude. Chose UCLA, obviously because he wanted to play for Chip Kelly in the football program there, but chose it not solely, but a big reason was for the education. So he's a smart kid. He's going to bring a lot to the table. But he plays with a tenacity. He was a starter every single year, started as a freshman at left tackle in a Power 5 school as a freshman. That's rare. You're telling me this kid can't come in and start day one as your right tackle? And so many people, when they're doing this mock drafts or you hear the noise of the draft analysts and you start hearing like, okay, well, we can't overdraft someone, right? Like, okay, no, we have a fourth round grade on him. We can't reach and take him the third round. I can tell you teams don't think that way. Teams have their board and they don't care what round. If that guy's available, you take him. You think the Packers, now the Chargers, would have cared? So Corey Linsley was a 5th round pick. You think looking back, the Packers, again, now he's on the Chargers, but they would have cared if they took him in the 2nd round? Oh, man, but we could have got him in the 5th. I mean, obviously it worked out great for him, but he was an all-pro. You don't care where you drafted him. So I don't care if people especially if you're watching me do this and saying, well, look at all those players in between. Maybe you wait and he's available for your next pick. He's not going to be available at 123 for the Chargers. So Rams fans watching are going to be bummed because if he fell to the Rams, I don't think he lasts another 25 picks though. I'm going Sean Ryan. And I feel great about it. If that happens, if this starts off for the Chargers, this might be as good of a start as last year or close to it. Remember last year, no one thought that Slater would be available at 13. Guess what? He fell and he was. No one thought Asante Samuel Jr. would be available in the 40s in the 2nd round. Guess what? He fell and he was. So this one, Jordan Davis and Sean Ryan, I'm liking it so far. All right. I'm probably taking way too much time per pick. So let's move it along. Rams now. Now I'm shocked. Kellen Dyche still sitting there. And you have Donovan West at center. Rams have, needs on the offensive line. They have definite needs in the secondary. You need to get another corner in this draft at some point. You can add some depth on defensive line. But they don't have a ton of needs really, but definitely offensive line and definitely corner are those two. Now, Cordell Flott, like I said, I like him a lot. That's potential here at 104. I know Kellen Dyche is a tackle, but, do you take the best player and just worry about their versatility? Because, Nopum's played a little bowl. I think Nopum's much better served at that left tackle. They just re-signed him kind of at tackle money. But Havenstein's kind of coming up on a contract soon. Maybe they think Dyche can play inside and move back. So I know the bigger need is inside because we don't really know who's going to start at right guard right now. Right? I mean, you let Austin Corbett go, and Donovan West did play some guard previously before switching to center his final season where he really flourished. But your center's locked in with Brian Allen. I think I'm going Dyche here and just saying, hey, let's take the talent of the player. If we move pieces around, whether it's Dyche or Nopum, but we got a 2nd to 3rd round talent in the late 3rd round. I'm taking Dyche. So Let me know though. That probably will be a controversial pick because he's not a true guard or center. So let me know, Rams fans, what you think of that one. And not, again, I'm doing this on the fly, so I'm not sitting here doing tons of different mock drafts, seeing what works out best. But yeah, we'll see. I'm curious what your guys' thoughts are on that. So, all right. So now we get back to the Chargers, 123. We got our interior defensive lineman. We got our tackle, our right tackle of the future. I mean, those two bookends of Slater and Ryan, Chargers are set for a decade at the tackle positions. So now we can go either add another corner, receiver is probably our biggest need right now, right? Get that burner. We can add a running back at this point. The Chargers in a good spot here where they don't have to feel forced to do anything. Kyle Phillips there. I don't want to go all UCLA or LA guys, but they're in a good spot where they can really kind of just take the best player available. Because I mean, if you're at this point now, you've checked off your biggest need, which was tackle, and you check arguably one of the best players in the draft at Jordan Davis, you're feeling good. So, got to take a quick break. We'll get back with the rest of the draft right after this. What's up, guys? Welcome back to the LA Football Show. Thanks for tuning in. We're doing our mock draft right now for both the Rams and the Chargers, brought to you by our friends at TickPick. If you're going to any event, game, concert, whatever it may be, TickPick is the place to get your tickets because you get charged no fees when you use our link. That's tickpick.com/LAFB. Anything you want to go to, if it's a Kings game, going to be in the playoffs, Dodgers game, obviously come football season, Rams, Chargers, Trojans, Bruins, no fees. Price you see is the price you get. tickpick.com/LAFB. Check them out today. Link is in the description below. Or if you go to LAFBnetwork.com, it's in our menu. You can find it right there. All right, so back to the Chargers here on the clock, pick 123. Let's start rolling through these a little quicker. I know I'm really kind of taking my time, but we're doing this on the fly. So, oh man, what are we thinking here? I mean, these running backs, I think we can get a running back later. I don't think we have to do a running back yet. Let's see, how's our receivers looking here? What do I look at? Just here we go, positions. Let's look at love Kyle Phillips. But he doesn't necessarily fit what the Chargers need at receiver. He's kind of similar to like a Josh Palmer. So as much as I love him, I think he's going to be great and would be good for the Chargers. I think at this point in the draft, you kind of want someone that brings something different to the table. So, Velus Jones, he's got your speed. Obviously, we can get him much later on, I think. Obviously all the top, very deep receiver class, but obviously a lot of the top guys now are gone. Josh Johnson, a guy that I think can bring some speed to the table out of Tulsa. That might be the best pick right now. Let's see here. Let's go back to Cordell. I mean, that's just a nasty secondary if you add him right there. Absolute nastiness. And especially, so Steven wrote a really good article just yesterday about how there's starting to be kind of some murmurs that the team might be okay with moving on from Michael Davis. They just signed to an extension last year, only a 3-year deal. So they can basically get out of it after this season. And so you might be looking at finding that third piece to be with Asante Samuel and JC Jackson. Yeah, I think I talked myself into it. Let's do Cordell Flott. I think he's a very good corner. Obviously played alongside one of the best, who's going to be a top 10 pick in Derek Stingley Jr. So let's go with that. All right, Rams here. So let me get this down real quick. 123. Cordell Flott. All right. Moving on to the Rams. Pick 142. So we got our offensive lineman. Again, albeit a tackle. I think it's a little controversial. There's no way that dude falls to the third round. I can't see Kellen Dyche falling to the third round. And if he does, that's just a slam dunk. I just think that you make it happen. You draft that talent and you mold them how you need. All right. So now, tight end, this interesting. I mean, it's hard because the Rams, they won the Super Bowl. Biggest need was offense. Really, your biggest need now is a corner. So do we take BPA or do we kind of reach, if you will, for a corner? Which again, like I said before, it's not necessarily a reach if it's your guy. And remember, we do all these mocks every year, and people base reaches on what media does their mock drafts. We don't know if it's a reach till these dudes start playing. How many top 10 picks every year flop? 20% of them probably, of the top 10 picks in the entire draft. So who cares if Mel Kiper has a fifth round grade on a guy and the Rams take him in the third or fourth if the dude balls out on Sundays? I don't think it matters. So Michael Wright, this might be a good pick here. Watch Michael Wright being at Oregon, watched a lot of Pac-12 football, going up against a lot of good receivers in the Pac-12. Obviously don't get the love around the country like they should, but the Drake Londons, the Kyle Phillips, they got dudes at Arizona State every single year. Dudes at Oregon he's going up against in practice. So I think Michael Wright might be a good pick here. Let's see. Yeah. Because again, we just don't have those severe needs. Let's go Michael Wright. So I like for the Rams going BPA regardless. I kind of want to look, but sometimes the BPA works out as your need, works out in the favor in this case. And their biggest need was O-line, and he was far and away the best player available. And then one of the best players available at 143 was a corner. So let's go ahead and write that down real quick. All right. Moving on. Where are we at? We got the Chargers back on the clock. Pick 160. So we got our defensive interior lineman. We got our tackle in Sean Ryan. And we got our corner in Carnell Flott. So at this point, again, the only true need to an extent is now a speed receiver. And Josh Johnson's still sitting there. So let's not even think a lot. Let's not talk a lot about it. Get a need there that still has great value in the round we got him in. Add some versatility to your wide receiver room. Give another weapon to Justin Herbert. Loving this draft for the Chargers so far. Loving it. So let's write that down. All right. Perfect. Look at that. All right, we're back. Rams are back on the clock at 175. How we doing, guys? You hanging with me? Hanging with me. Hopefully, it's not for the faint of heart doing these mock drafts live, right? A lot of thought process has to go into it. So, let me know if any of you guys are going to be in Vegas. We'd love to link up. Like I said, we're going to have a little draft house out there, have some sponsors out there, get you guys all the stuff you need. So, all right. So Rams, we could add a running back. You're at the point now where you obviously haven't re-signed Sony Michel to this point. And you still have obviously Darrell Henderson and Cam Akers, but both have shown the inability to really stay healthy. Jake Funk also hurt last year also. So this is a scenario where you could go running back here in the 5th round just to add some depth. I mean, they're going to add a running back at some point, whether it's, an undrafted free agent or a late round pick, because you want to bring at least 4 to 5 bodies into camp. Right now you got 3. 4 if you include some of the past practice squad guys as well. So that's a definite possibility. Running back here. I don't see any I don't see drafting any wide receivers at this point, especially if there's any hope of still bringing OBJ back. I would think at this point with OBJ, it's almost like a waiting game to after the draft on him getting re-signed if it hasn't happened yet. And I know there's been murmurs this week about interest in Tyrann Mathieu, interest in Stephon Gilmore. Crazy that they can even potentially afford those guys, but obviously that changes a lot of things in how they draft. They get one of those guys as well. So, let's see here, though. What do we want to do, guys? I love Nafai Sewell. Love Nafai Sewell. The one of the Sewell brothers, Penei Sewell, who's, tackle for Detroit now, former top 10 pick, first tackle taken last year. Noah Sewell, backer at Oregon, who's going to be probably a top 10 pick when he comes out. Nafai Sewell's like the kind of the forgotten one, but he had a really good productive career at Utah and played alongside Devin Lloyd. So he's a really quality player that would add some depth. I just don't know if you, at this point, with some other players on the board, I don't know if you want to go for that position, considering you just signed Bobby Wagner, considering you just drafted Ernest Jones, who they absolutely love and is going to be kind of the future of the team. And Nafai Sewell, I mean, it's a great pick, but I don't know if we've seen how they draft in the past, and they don't really value linebacker, so I don't see them using this rich of a pick for a linebacker after just using a high pick and after just paying money to a vet. Tight end. Ooh, I like Hassan Haskins. I like Zaquandre White, though, because he's a different style back. Let's go ahead and make that the pick. He's a bigger back, gives you a little more of a bruising mentality compared to what Cam Akers and what Darrell Henderson do. So I think at this point, you need someone that A, can hopefully stay healthy, and B, gives you that Sony Michel type running power for cheaper. So let's go with that as the pick. So we got a running back off the board. All right, back to the Chargers. We still have a lot of picks here for the Chargers, so we got to roll through these pretty quickly. Pick 195. So we got interior lineman, tackle, corner, wide receiver. We need a running back also. Didn't bring back Justin Jones, but hey, okay. Chargers in a scenario where they're a little different at linebacker. They let Kaiser White go. They end up just signing Troy Reeder from the Rams, who I think was signed more for special teams and more for depth purposes, had his best year of his career playing for Brandon Staley. So, I mean, he will get some playing time on defense, but they didn't sign him as the starter of the future or anything like that. Kenneth Murray, the jury's still out on him. Tons of talent, but obviously I don't need to get into it. We know how he played last year. And Drew Tranquill can look really good sometimes, but also just has trouble staying healthy. I'm going to Nafai Sewell. I know you also have Ogbongbemigo and Newman, who they both like a lot. Neiman, excuse me. Can keep developing those guys, but I don't think it hurts taking a high quality. I mean, I know he'll be a rookie, but a veteran college backer who played with Devin Lloyd in a great defensive system in Utah and bring him in here and let him compete. Let him compete. I say this every year, but guys, going into training camp, there's going to be one or two players that surprise everybody and stand out. Last year for the Chargers, it was Kaiser White. Nobody had Kaiser White as the starting backer, let alone the best backer on the Chargers. And he blew everyone away at training camp. There's going to be another guy like that in this training camp class. Could be a rookie, could be a vet guy that struggled in the past and ends up being great. We'll see. But I think adding depth here is a good move for them. So let's go ahead and do that. Nafai Sewell. All right, now we got back-to-back Rams picks, 211 and 212. This point in the draft for the Rams, I mean, I think you're really going BPA, best player available. Could go tight end here, add to your depth. Injuries really haunted them last year. Obviously didn't hurt them since they won the Super Bowl. Luke Wattenberg at center. This might be the pick because he has some guard versatility as well. You still need a guard, I think. The plan, if you're taking, Kellen Dyche in the third round as your first pick, the plan for sure has to be to use him in a versatile way because they don't need him at tackle. And it depends in camp, and it'll be Kevin Carberry's call who he feels more comfortable sliding inside. Would it be Kellen Dyche? Would it be Joseph Noteboom? Do they feel good with Tremaine Ankrum or Coleman Shelton as their starting guard? But at least they have a lot of options. Luke Wattenberg might be another one to add to that. Make a weakness a strength. Let's go with that. Luke Wattenberg. This isn't a sexy draft for the Rams so far, but hey, when you win the Super Bowl, you don't got to be sexy. Just keep it rolling, right? That's all that matters. And when you have back-to-back picks, it gives you some versatility because we can go now defensive interior lineman here. Let's just go down here. And I've seen a lot of people that have tried mocking Matt Ariza, punter to the Rams. I don't think I mean, here in round 6, I wouldn't hate that, actually. I mean, the dude's a weapon, right? As a punter. Can be a weapon. Do we want to do that? Do we want to take a punter in a mock draft scenario? I feel like that's blasphemy. It's kind of like a fantasy draft. Like it's taking like a kicker in like the 10th round. It's like, no, you wait to the last pick. But man, if he's sitting there, I mean, it is kind of a need. I know they signed Riley Dixon. Very mediocre punter, but do they value that? Oh, man. Kind of tempted now. Kind of talking myself into it. Let's see. Okay, real quick. Before we move on, let's just see some other positions of need. How are we doing on time here, guys? How are we doing on time? Okay, we got about 6 or 7 minutes, so we got to roll through this. Yeah, no, we're not taking a receiver. Unless it's strictly for special teams. We could use some edge depth for sure. Let's get rid of this. I hate that it keeps it highlighted. Let's get rid of the receiver there. I like Carson Wells. I have a lot more knowledge on these Pac-12 guys. I mean, you're getting pretty deep here now on edge guys. Adam Anderson, I think, is anyone that plays for Georgia. Let's go with that. Let's get another edge piece because you're rolling with obviously Leonard Floyd, and then you're rolling with 3 guys that have a lot to prove. So why not add another body to the rotation? Give you some. I mean, Terrell Lewis, dude is so talented, but he just cannot stay healthy. Justin Hollins, who's going to be the starter going into camp, but you coming off a fairly big injury, make sure he can get back to form. And Chris Garrett, who there's a lot of hype about, but 7th round pick, still got to see it. He was a scratch most of the year, so I think there's obviously talent there, but there's a lot of unknown there. So let's add another body. Let's add another body to that room. And hey, if Ariza still falls, then maybe we can or maybe we'll take him with the Chargers right here. Chargers could use some punting improvement too. Oh man. This is killing me. Okay. Do we want to go punter here? We don't need another defensive interior lineman. We're good there. We got our back. I mean, we've checked all the boxes on the draft so far for the Chargers. So at this point, I mean, we could use some safety depth, of course. Probably be smart. I do like Percy Butler out of Louisiana. Could use a little tight end depth. Not really a need, but we did. They just signed Gerald Everett, who I love. The talent, I love the ceiling there. We just got to see it. The production hasn't been there yet in his career. Trey McKitty really came on as a great blocker, and I think we see him more involved in the passing game. Donald Parham, signed his tender, so he'll be back. They let Steven Anderson go, who I believe signed with Houston. So, I mean, you want to add another body, but maybe you add that body in the 7th round because I think at this point you're not really drafting a starter anyway. So which do you want a depth piece that does more on special teams? That's what we got to look at. Let's go. I'm doing it. Probably gonna regret it, but I'm taking Matt Ariza. I mean, this draft has just been so good, in my opinion, for the Chargers that I mean, it's the 6th round. It's not like you're taking a punter in the 3rd or 4th. You're in the 6th round, and you just may have the best punter we've seen in a decade. Flip the field for you. Okay, Rams on the clock. 2:18. All right, we're getting down to it, guy. We're getting down to it where my prospect knowledge now is getting pretty blurry. We're getting down to prospect knowledge getting a little blurry. So, let's add another secondary guy. I think that's where best available. We're not taking another running back, obviously. This tight end is still teasing me just because of the injuries, but I think, I think with the tight room they have, as long as everyone comes back healthy, Kendall Blanton really kind of shined, obviously, and came into his own. And, if we can see Jacob Harris, who's going to be more like a receiver, but he's kind of a blend, if he can stay healthy and be good. And then, Bryson Hopkins, who was forced to play in the Super Bowl and actually played pretty well. Hadn't seen him all year. So it wouldn't shock me by any means to take a receiver, but I think maybe a safety would be a better play here. Because, I mean, when you're looking at last year, they had to sign Eric Weddle off the streets. Let's get some safety depth. So let's go. Do I want Percy Butler? Do I want Brad Hawkins? What else are we looking at here safety-wise? I guess I can just pull up my safeties. Quentin Lake. They are really undervaluing Quentin Lake here. Yeah, I'm gonna show my LA bias here. I'm taking Lake, a 6th round. All the dude does is make plays. For those who didn't watch UCLA football last year, the defense was bad. They had a bad defense last year. There's no ifs, ands, buts about it. Quentin Lake was the star of that defense, though. Dude just makes plays. So let's go ahead and, I'm happy with that pick. Chargers back on the clock, 2:36. 2:36. For those listening on radio, we're running out of time here. So to finish this, you're going to want to jump over to LAFBnetwork.com or just any of the podcast platforms, wherever you listen, to finish up this mock. We're running out of time. We're going to finish this. We're going to roll through it for the podcast platform. But just want to let you know, I'll let you know when it's sign off time. But, all right, let's see. Chargers here. I mean, we could add safety depth as well for the Chargers. Maybe add someone on the interior offensive line. I mean, probably do need an interior guy, or at least depth. Yeah, let's do that. Let's look at our guards. We got guard. Did we take no, we haven't taken anyone after Sean Ryan. So we need an interior guy. William Dunkel, I like him. Blazon. Okay. Let's go Jason Poe out of Mercer. Don't know a ton about him. Let's go for it. So, but yeah, those of you listening on 1090 ESPN Radio, thank you so much for tuning in. Truly appreciate you every week for making me a part of your drive. I'm Ryan Dyrud. Like I said, jump over to LAFBnetwork.com to catch the rest of this episode, and I'll be back with you guys again next Friday. Enjoy your weekend, though. Appreciate you. Peace. All right. Just had to do that little sign off for the radio. Let's get back to it. We are on the Rams on the clock. Pick 238. 238. Rams got 2 picks left. All right. So we got safety depth last time. Got a lot of running backs on the board. I like Carson Wells, like I said. We could take another edge if we wanted to. Do we go? We got our center. We got 2 offensive linemen. Maybe we could add a backer now, or we could add another. What do we want to do? Another secondary piece, maybe? Who did I forgot to write down last pick now. Of course I did. Of course I did. Oh, yeah, we got the safety. That's right. Okay. Malachi Carter. What are we feeling here? I don't see the Rams taking 3 offensive linemen this draft. Might be smart to. Don't think it would be the worst thing to do. But I don't really see them doing that. So let's go. We haven't taken a defensive interior. We took an edge. We always like to, if we're the Rams, we always like to plan for the future, looking at contracts, looking at who's coming up. Ashawn Robinson, probably going to be his last year as a Ram, most likely. Let's add some interior depth here. So I like Jordan Jackson. I actually did one mock for another show, and I had him going. I believe I had him actually doing. It was for a Chargers draft, I think. So, but let's go Jordan Jackson. I know there's 2 guys rated higher by PFF, but any of these military guys I can get, I love. The smarts are there. The intangibles are there. The disciplines there. The tenacity's there. We're in the 7th round. let's add a guy that we like the personality on, and we can coach him up and get his body right. So, yeah, let's add that. Okay, Chargers Rams again. Final pick here for the Rams. Who's going to be our LA Rams Mr. Irrelevant? Who do we want? Do we take a punter now? I mean, we passed on Ariza. Still got some good punters on the board. I mean, at this point, guys, like, what are we looking for here, right? You're looking for a special teamer. Who's more important on the special teams when you're getting rid of the ball than the punter? Let's see what tight ends are left real quick. So maybe we do a tight end. Yeah. Lucas Kroll, 6'6", 253. I think we're going to do that. I can't take two punters in a mock draft. I know they're different teams. I can't do it, though. Can't take two punters. Lucas Kroll, let's get a tight end on the board, add some depth to the room that was just decimated by injuries last year. And, yeah, you lose your big blocking tight end in free agency. So you got to replace him. So, yeah, there we go. Let's wrap up the Rams with that. And we got the final two Chargers got 3 final picks, excuse me. They're going to have like 30,000 picks in this year's draft. So at this point, I mean, we're just adding depth at this point, right? And we've been adding depth basically for a while. They've kind of knocked the doors off, I think, at the beginning of this draft. So I think we can do another offensive lineman. Let's get some better depth there again. Because again, after Sean Ryan and Rashawn Slater, then you're looking at Trey Pipkins and Storm Norton. So granted, those Trey Pipkins was a 3rd round pick, but still some questions there if he's a long-term backup or if they want to move him in the starting role. So let's add some tackle depth here. So it looks like we got Patrick Paul, we got Austin Deculus. I love what LSU does on the offensive line. I know they had a down year these last 2 years, obviously, but let's go with Deculus as some tackle depth there. And then moving right into our next pick, we're not going to add any more defensive line depth. We signed 2 guys. We drafted one with our first pick. We can add a safety depth. I think would be smart. After Derwin, Nasir Adelaide, we drafted Mark Webb last year in the 7th round. Let's take another safety in this year's Marth round. I like Kendrick Duncan. Let's see who else we so I don't have to bore you guys with scrolling forever. Trey Sterling. Let's see here. Yeah, let's go Kendrick Duncan. We'll just take the top guy they have rated. Get some safety depth there, special teamer, and some depth if injuries rear their ugly head like they did this past season a little bit in that secondary. And finally, here we go. Best player on the board that let's throw another receiver, right? Another dart at the receiver room. We just make sure we're not missing anyone. We already took a good linebacker. We already took a running back. We're not going to take a tight, or did we take a tight? Yeah, we don't need to take a tight end. I don't think we could. If we really felt like Cameron Lotu, I would not dislike taking. I think that's a good depth piece to add to that room. I feel like I'm saying that over and over again because that's where we are in the draft now. But he's certainly someone I would not be opposed to. But I think, one thing we did not really address that probably we should have, and now I'm regretting a little bit, is the edge position for the Chargers. It's hard to doing these for 2 teams. I'm trying to think back and forth. Chargers are strong at the edge, but not a lot of depth. You got, after Khalil Mack and Joey Bosa, you have Chris Rumph and a lot of emptiness. So that, looking back now, that's why we do this live, but that is a position I should have taken probably sooner. Most definitely. But we'll add one now. Not great value in the 7th round, but hey, we'll add one. Maybe we add an undrafted free agent, and there's still some free agents out there too the Chargers could add as well. So let's go ahead and we're getting down here, but hey, you never know. Sometimes the 7th round pick will surprise you. Notre Dame, Tom Telesco loves his Notre Dame, guys. Let's end the draft with a Notre Dame draft pick. All right. So there we have it with the Rams and Chargers first 7-round mock draft that I have done this season. We are doing a full LAFB mock draft. Probably just the first round, actually. But we're going to have like 10 of us doing a live show, each taking a team, doing a full mock draft, which that will be a lot of fun. But quickly just running through what we're able to accomplish here. So for our Rams, Kellen Dyche in our first pick at tackle. Love that pick. Great versatility. Michael Wright out of Oregon, cornerback. Just added that secondary room that we need, especially if we don't get a Tyrann Mathieu or a Stephon Gilmore. We need bodies back there. Zaquandre Wright, running back, out of the room, big-bodied guy. He's going to give you more versatility or something different to that room than what you have in Cam Akers, Joe Henderson. Luke Wattenberg, great player. For Washington in the Pac-12, has some center guard versatility. We need to shore up the interior of the offensive line, at least with depth. He gives you that. Adam Anderson at edge, adding depth at edge because there's a lot of unknown on that left side, right? Justin Hollins was injured last year. Terrell Lewis is always injured. Chris Garrett is an unknown 7th-round pick with a lot of talent. Add some more to that room to play alongside Leonard Floyd. Quentin Lake, people might see this as a reach, but Quentin Lake, all he did was make big plays at UCLA. We had him on the Bruin Bible a few days ago. Awesome kid. I wanted to stay in LA because we wanted to do a podcast here for the LA Football Network. That's some insider information that I'm telling you right now. But Quentin Lake, I think, don't look at, I think that grade's horrible because Quentin Lake is a baller. All he does is make big plays. Would be a great special teamer. You can keep him right here in Los Angeles. 7th round now, Jordan Jackson out of Air Force. Love me some military guys. Interior defensive lineman, brings you depth there, planning for the future if you're going to lose someone like Ashawn Robinson, most likely the next year. Lucas Kroll, final pick, Mr. Irrelevant for the Rams at tight end. A lot of injuries in that room, like I said. Why not add another body, let him duke it out in training camp, see if this guy can carve out a role for himself. If not special teams, maybe even work his way up into the pecking order at tight end, like a guy like Kendall Bland did. PFF gave me a B. I'll take it. Probably would have been higher if without this D+ they gave me for Quentin Lake, but I think that's a bogus grade. It's just because they have him valued so low. But let's be honest. Most of these draft sites do not watch a lot of Pac-12 football. I'm just going to put it out there. All right, Chargers now. Let's see how we did in the Chargers. Jordan Davis falls to us at 17. Slam dunk. He's not like my absolute favorite pick, but if he's there at 17, he's the pick, especially with no quarterbacks getting taken before pick 17. This could not have fallen any better. That's the worst case scenario for the Chargers is no quarterbacks getting drafted, and yet still Jordan Davis somehow fell to them. I think that's unlikely. You're looking more at probably a Chris Olave, maybe a Jameson Williams falls to 17. I haven't seen it very often, but I think you're looking at that scenario, a Trevor Penning scenario, or maybe getting one of these interior offensive linemen because all the tackles are off the board. Jordan Davis would be off the board, but hey, in this time he wasn't. 3rd round, Sean Ryan, who I do not think will be there in the 3rd round either in real life, but he fell again. His first 2 picks to me are an absolute slam dunk. I don't know how they're not graded higher by PFF than B and B minuses, but I don't care because Sean Ryan and Rashawn Slater as your bookend tackles, you are set. Sean Ryan's going to be a baller in the league, has such a great mentality, such a smart player. Started as a freshman at a Power 5 school, played every game, every snap for the Bruins, only gave up 2 sacks his entire career at UCLA. 4th round, we get a corner, add to an already stellar secondary with Cordell Flott out of LSU, who just keeps producing phenomenal corners. We finally get a receiver in the 5th round. I know a lot of people want to see a receiver early on, but just the way the board fell, Josh Johnson's a good consolation in the 5th round, gives you some versatility, some speed there to that room. Nafai Sewell, I think this is maybe one of the best picks of this draft in round 6. I mean, the dude is going to be a very cerebral, good linebacker that played in a very good defensive system out there in Utah, played alongside Devin Lloyd for his career, is a family pedigree with the Sewell boys, Noah Sewell and Panay Sewell. You can't go wrong. You add to that room that's kind of the big unknown right now for the Chargers is a linebacking room. That's the big unknown. And Nafai Sewell stabilizes that, in my opinion, even though he's a rookie. We went punter in the 6th round. Matt Ariza, the best punter in the game, best punter in the draft, the best punting prospect we've seen in quite some time. I don't love drafting punters and kickers, but hey, in the 6th round, if he's still there, you signed Riley Dixon. The Rams signed Riley Dixon, but you have some issues, with Ty Long last year. I think Matt Araiza is worth a pick in the 6th round for sure. 7th round now, Chargers have 4 7th-round picks. You're just throwing darts at this point, seeing what you add. Jason Poe out of Mercer gives you some body in the interior. Austin DeCulis, out of LSU is a good tackle prospect to add some depth there behind now Sean Ryan and Rashawn Slater. You add a safety in Kendrick Dunn out of Louisville. We added Mark Webb last year out of Georgia. So just adding some special teams guy, but they can learn in Brandon Staley. And finally, in round 7, you finally get an edge guy, which, like I said, I think I messed up. I probably should have addressed edge earlier in the draft, but I didn't. We're doing it on the fly. We got a Notre Dame guy because we know Tom Telesco can't go one draft without drafting a Notre Dame guy. So he gets him as his Chargers Mr. Irrelevant and adds some depth to the edge room. All right. Whew. Need my throat. Need a break. So, well, there you have it. There is my first official mock draft for the Rams and Chargers this season. Like I said, we'll be doing a full site-wide one, getting a bunch of people live on LAFB taking the first round. But let me know what you think. I don't know how I feel. I got to take it again. I didn't plan this ahead, so we're doing it on the fly. Kind of go back and forth for each team. I think I like it overall, though. I think my only qualm, like I said, was I should have addressed edge earlier, I think, for the Chargers. But I love their first 2 picks. I really like the Rams' first 2 picks also, in who I was able to get for them. So let me know what you guys think, though. Hit me up in the comments below if you are, on LAFB Network, if you're on YouTube or even on podcast platform, you can leave a review, or just hit me up on Twitter at Ryan Dyrud, LAFB. I will be there all the time so we can talk football. Let me know if you guys are going to Vegas for the draft here just in a couple weeks. We cannot wait. Like I said, there'll be a bunch of us out there with the LAFB Draft House. Thank you for tuning in. I certainly appreciate it. Hope to see you guys again soon. I will be back next week and always talking Los Angeles football. I'm Ryan Dyrud. Peace.